Hello and welcome to another episode of Million Dollar Media. I am your host for today, Emily, and today we are going to be talking about the movie Ash. Now, 2025 has been an absolutely fantastic year for movies. I've seen a lot of stuff that I've absolutely loved, and this is not that. You know, every year has to have just some absolute dog shit, and I relish it. I relish a change of pace from watching things that are good. And so when I went to go see Ash, there was no doubt in my mind that either I would see something great or something horrid. And holy shit, did I see something horrid, which is what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. So for those of you who are not familiar with this movie, this is a sci-fi horror film that stars Eliza Gonzalez and Aaron Paul as two survivors of some sort of unknown event that goes down on a space station on a planet that is not Earth, in a sort of post-apocalypse future where Earth, like humans, have been sent out across the galaxy to find new planets to colonize because Earth is no longer livable. So our main character, played by Eliza Gonzalez, wakes up on this space station and everyone's dead. And the movie entails her and Aaron Paul, after the first 15 minutes, trying to figure out what exactly happened on the ship, where they are, why they're there, and how they're going to get home. So what makes this movie so truly specially horrendous is that it takes just about every sci-fi horror movie plot twist that's been in any sci-fi horror film in the past 20 to 30 years and just completely rips it off without understanding what made any of those twists good. I won't get into spoilers just yet because I have a lot more to complain about with this movie that isn't spoilers, but it really does just come off absolutely horribly that the movie is so unsure of what its plot wants to be that it throws in about 6 different plot twists, hoping that at least one of them will stick. To that end, in terms of things that it also apes tropes and ideas from across the sci-fi horror genre in an awkward sort of mishmash. So while the beginning reads as very Event Horizon to me, there are parts of it that get a little bit into Alien territory, parts of it that get a little bit into The Thing territory, parts of it that kind of ring a little bit of Dead Space. But I do think that the biggest individual contribution to this film is Alien, right down to its first arbitrary plot twist. But what this movie lacks is a real effective threat for most of it, which is a lot of what makes it very frustrating. For the first 2 acts of the movie, it's not even really clear what's going on or if there even is a killer or something that happened. We're essentially told that one person perpetrated this massacre that killed everyone very early on. And while that obviously turns out to not be true, it doesn't really leave this movie with an effective threat for most of it. It's just sort of Eliza Gonzalez and Aaron Paul bumming around on a space station because with the killer still out there somewhere on the planet and not here, it leaves us with a horror movie that doesn't have an actual killer or monster or any real tension for a majority of it. And as the characters make discoveries and unravel this mystery, the mystery is so fucking nonsensical that it just doesn't entertain in the slightest. Every single plot point that you hit is really that, okay. But beyond that, there are another myriad of ways that this movie completely falls apart. For one thing, there's this vaguely racist recurring joke that Aaron Paul brings this medical robot to help treat the main character and assess the deaths on ship. But the medical robot is made by a Japanese corporation, so it speaks in broken English for the entire film, which got a laugh out of my theater exactly 0 times. It just doesn't work, and it doesn't really have a reason to be there other than some light comic relief. But comic relief is only really necessary if the movie is scary, which this movie just isn't. It's not entertaining. It's not scary. It's not even really tense. It's just nothing. I will give this movie one thing. It has some interesting color grading and a couple of visual effects that are cool. There's the scene where the main character sort of looks up into the sky and there's a big space warp thing happening, and that's pretty cool. But you can't get by on vibes and aura alone. A movie needs to have a story and characters doing things. So to that end, I'm going to get into spoilers. If you, for some reason, have the intention to watch Ash, feel free to do so. I would recommend against it. It's not even watch it with your friends bad. It's just shit. But to get into spoilers, what I want to talk about is this movie's endless barrage of twists that make no sense. So the first twist that you will run into in this movie is that the humans were actually sent here because there are aliens that have terraforming technology that they are using to make the planet livable. And there was some theorizing going on that potentially main characters could use this terraforming technology to create a replacement Earth for people to live, thereby making their expedition meaningful, which we find out from a video recording, but it's hidden from the main character for reasons that aren't entirely clear. And then it's revealed that the main monster, so to speak, is actually not this woman who we're told perpetrated the massacre, but rather that there's an alien parasite that nests in technology, which gave birth to parasite babies on the space station, which then infected people and caused the massacre to happen. And then that said parasites killed Aaron Paul about 20 minutes into the movie, and that his corpse is just like under the ship. And this Aaron Paul has actually been a parasite-induced hallucination because the main character took a cyanide capsule, which didn't kill her, but weakened the parasite in her brain enough that it couldn't take full control of her, but was still sufficiently rooted in her brain to cause her to hallucinate Aaron Paul. And then it just goes on, and there's a million more twists, and Aaron Paul turns into like a Dead Space / The Thing monster at one point, and it ends with this long monologue of like a JPEG of an alien and like red lighting that feels like something out of like a 2007 Nicolas Cage movie, and it goes on and on about like the greatness of its empire or whatever, and it's like trying to lure the main character into like bringing it back to Earth to like spread civilization, and it just... nothing about it makes sense. The plot of this movie is so nonsensical that it's impossible to get invested in any one element because it like schizophrenically switches to another idea every time that it decides what the plot actually is. It's like, okay, are we Weyland-Yutaniing this shit? Like with the terraforming stuff? No, not really. That was just something that happened to be there, and the alien parasite was unrelated and the corporation didn't know about it. Okay, is the parasite gonna be the main villain? Well, yeah, but the parasite has like these larger goals, and Aaron Paul is also a hallucination, but then he becomes a zombie monster. And it's just aggravating. I'm really tired of watching horror movies that have no idea what they want to be and just keep altering their premise until they're butchered into a shape that works. Right? Like we've seen this before with horror movies that are uncertain of their core premise. And it really bums me out because the film that this movie, especially in its opening sequence, is most evocative of is Event Horizon, which is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. But what Event Horizon does that this lacks is go so over the top on its central premise that it gets to the point of being like bonkers insane. This ship traveled through a wormhole and something happened that killed everyone is already a pretty mild concept, but they escalate it to actual biblical demons from like hell attacked this ship while it was passing through a wormhole. And that's such a crazy escalation of the key premise that it works. But this movie does not actually have a key premise and just keeps escalating in different directions, hoping that one of its plot elements will stick, which none of them fucking do. This movie does not work in the slightest, and it sucks because Aaron Paul is a great actor, and they give him nothing to do in this movie. He has no direction. He wanders around aimlessly like he doesn't know anything about his character, presumably because there was nothing about his character written into the script. He's like just a guy who is there and is a hallucination for most of the film. But Aaron Paul just sort of bumbles about, muttering his dialogue in ways that don't make sense and yelling at the main character every time that she tries to do something that he doesn't deem appropriate. It's agitating because they waste a great actor on this nothing character in this nothing movie. And you know, this movie was obviously made for like a smaller audience. This wasn't like some huge blockbuster thing, so I don't like punching down on it, but man, sometimes movies are just shit, and this is one of them. It is nothing, and it has nothing to say. It has no new ideas. It just feels like recycled slop taken from the dregs of whatever sci-fi horror has come out in the last 30 years. I cannot recommend against watching this movie enough. And I don't like to be negative in these $1 million media reviews, but sometimes you just really gotta fucking hate on something to make the good stuff seem more relevant. It's been a great year for movies, but if we don't watch the shit like Ash that comes out on a yearly basis, then we don't appreciate how good movies really have been. In a year that's given us things like Sinners, Thunderbolts, The Monkey, and all these other fantastic movies, we have to remember our roots, and our roots are in garbage movies. Don't watch Ash, but appreciate that it exists. That's my final message. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you're interested in watching more content like this. We have a lot of good stuff coming on the way. We've been a little bit delayed because of some behind the scenes stuff, but videos will be resuming again soon, so don't worry about that. Thank you very much, and you all have a good one.